Very busy 36 hours or so for the Pensacola Police Department, for everyone out supporting us. We are naming the victim today, 19-year-old Philip Shepard, known by his friends and family as PJ. And as I said earlier, our detectives are working tirelessly to get answers for a family that's grieving and to get justice. I want to give you an update on the night of the 4th, morning of the 5th. Just for context, prior to the shooting, the men and women of the Pensacola Police Department were out working. 9 arrests were made in the hours prior to this shooting. Ages 14 to 22 were the ages of the arrestees. We responded to over 20 fights. Update on the victims of this tragedy. All but one of these 6 who were taken to the hospital have been released from the hospital. The final one who was admitted, they have very positive expectation, no longer in fear of death, and expected to make a full recovery. As far as the investigation goes, what we've been able to determine are a couple things of interest. Number one is we know that there were at least 2 weapons fired that night. Want to thank our partners in the ATF who have been assisting with this, providing information, a very helpful bit of information. Additionally, 6 of the 7 injured, including the deceased, all had social connections to each other. What we've been able to determine is that there was an ongoing feud between these individuals that is obviously playing a role into the direction of the investigation. We are asking for the public's help. We have posted on social media ways to get in contact with us, ways to get in contact with the investigating detective. There are a lot of people, there were hundreds of people there that night, and a lot of individuals who were likely recording on cell phones who may have helpful information. I do want to thank all the businesses, all the community members who have stepped up already to provide us with information, businesses who have provided us, even up till this morning, additional video surveillance. All of it is helping us immensely in this investigation. I have a group of detectives who are exhausted but highly motivated and working very hard at this moment, even down at the crime scene, looking for additional answers so that we can get justice for this grieving family. I do want to thank the mayor for being here. I'll turn over to him in one moment. I do want to say as well, there is a video that's been circulating for the past 12 or 14 hours or so on social media purporting to show an altercation in downtown Pensacola with an individual firing shots. We looked into that. Of course, that is not in the city of Pensacola, but it has gotten so much traction on social media, I thought it was worth a mention. So I do want to thank the mayor and those behind me for being present, and I'll turn over to the mayor.
Thanks, Chief, and thank you all for being here. Of course, our thoughts and prayers are with everybody involved in the senseless violence that took place in downtown on Sunday morning, excuse me. I'm just here quickly to convey 2 things to the community. First, certainly the deepest gratitude goes to our police department, our officers, our investigators. David Stafford and I were able to meet with the team on Sunday morning here, and I think if I could, I would love for all 55,000 people to have seen how many people have been up all night, including our chief, including our detectives, our investigators, through the 4th of July festivities and into the next morning. And that's the type of dedication that we have in this building. So I'm forever grateful to our police department, and any citizen out there can rest assured that we quite literally will not sleep until we bring this to a conclusion, and I can assure you that as your representative. Second, to our citizens, I want them to rest assured that every resource that we have is being deployed to catch the person or persons responsible. The reason that instances like this are so rare in the city of Pensacola is because even the worst of actors know that it is a place that does not tolerate violence, and that they'll be found and they'll be arrested and they'll absolutely be brought to justice. So again, a huge thank you to our businesses, our citizens that are reaching out to help provide our police department with information, and an enormous thank you to our department. So that's it. Thank you.
Again, I want to thank the mayor for being here, Council President Patton, Councilman Wiggins, Deputy Chief Assistant State's Attorney Longmire. The work that we're doing obviously is in conjunction with a lot of other law enforcement agencies, but also the State's Attorney's Office. I just want to set expectations. I've been involved, unfortunately, in my career, hundreds of tragic incidents like this. And the primary goal that we have is to get justice for this grieving family and answers for this mother who's at home right now grieving. That's our primary goal. Secondary to that is we do want to provide transparency to the public, but there are some things that we're just not prepared to share. There's facts that can't be made public, and I don't want for you to take that as a sign that our detectives are not doing everything that they possibly can to get those answers. It's about 36 hours or so, even less, into the investigation, so just setting expectations, know that we are working extremely hard. As we get more public information that we can share, we want to share it with you. We know how important it is for our community to be informed, but we know how important it is to conduct a professional, thorough, and legal investigation, and that's what we intend to do. So with that, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those. I'm able to answer.
Chief, any more with the social connections? Any indication of fights over relationships, money, anything like that?
I would say that we know that multiple of these individuals have known gang connections. Not prepared to say that these are gang members, but we know that there are feuds going back years, gang-related feuds. These individuals, 6 of these individuals were known to each other. One individual who was struck by gunfire was not known to any of these individuals, and I think given the location of where he was, he was certainly not an intended target. But this is a years-long feud, and regardless of what the content of this feud is, which the detectives are looking into it, I don't think it's going to be anything that you or I or a member of the public would think would justify the death of a 19-year-old man who had his whole life ahead of him.
One more question for you. 2 weapons fired, any known number of shots fired?
We don't know. Part of that is, the issue of if you're firing a certain type of weapon, a revolver, for example, it does not leave a shell casing. There was a lot of individuals, hundreds of individuals that were down there. So even if it was unintentional, there could have been casings that were kicked, casings that were destroyed, kicked down a sewer, et cetera. So we don't have an absolute confirmed number of rounds yet. We do have obviously a number of casings that were recovered. I don't know what that number is, but just from my assessment of the scene that night, multiple, I'm not surprised at all that there were more than one weapon fired.
Any indication of the weapons that they were an exchange of gunfire between 2 sides, or just
That's a real possibility, and now that we've made the determination that these 6 individuals knew each other, there's a possibility of a crossfire situation. We're piecing that together. It's certainly something that we've contemplated from the beginning when we realized that there were so many victims, and assessment of the crime scene that showed the potential with just looking at the windows that were broken there, that it was very possible that bullets were going in opposite directions. So not something that I'm willing to say 100% that we've made a conclusion on, but something that the detectives are looking very closely at.
Chief, is there any type of solid number on possibly chargeable suspects involved, or is that still kind of pending investigation?
Pending investigation, but I would say obviously now that we know that there were at least 2 weapons fired, that that number is a minimum of 2 individuals, and certainly could be more as the detectives piece this all together. There were a lot of moving parts to it, a lot of people involved. You know, I mentioned setting expectation and all the investigations I've been involved in. Even a homicide that's sort of an easier lift for a detective to look at, say a domestic involved homicide that happened inside a house where you know that there were 2 people present and the offender is easy to identify. To have answers about that within 36 hours would be very unlikely. So with there being 7 individuals struck by gunfire, with there being a crime scene that extended blocks long, with there being so much forensic evidence to process, I'm happy that we're able to provide the updates that we can, but I know it's probably going to be another day or 2 before we have the more specific answers, which are very important to provide that information, but we want to get it right.
Chief, you've spoken to the victim's family. Tell us a little bit about that conversation.
Never an easy conversation, and my perspective on that when you're dealing with and most of my experience has been with a mother of young men who have been killed in murder, and you know going into that conversation that there is nothing that you're going to be able to say that is going to make it any better. And so my job as a chief, our job as a city, to make sure that we don't make it any worse. So spoke to our victims advocate coordinator this morning. She was at mom's house. We're going to do everything we can to support her, to be there for her if there's something we can do. I know I gave my my business card, as well as Captain Reese, who was on scene that night, who's in charge of our detectives. We both provided her our cell phone number and family members, and said if there's something that we can do to support them. Always a difficult conversation, and it's tough because as a police officer, you want to be able to fix problems. We're problem solvers. We want to, but talking to a grieving mother who just lost her son, there's nothing positive. There's no way to fix that, no way to make it better. So our job as an organization is to do everything we can to support her and make sure that on the darkest day of her life, I'm sure that we don't make it any worse, and we do what we can to support her family. Very difficult conversation.
I have a question for the mayor. Mayor, I know you've talked to community leaders. What are the conversations that y'all are having?
Yeah, again, primary focus in this building, of course, is the investigation, and we've got the best of the best on top of that. Certainly, we know this as the days roll on and this gets resolved. There's conversations about the philosophical sense of what's happening in our city and what can we do to improve it. Obviously, there's lots of conversations. I'm assuming Rick, you're hearing the same about discussions about a curfew has come up from community leaders. That is, and when you combine that with the fact that these last 2 years nationally, what you're seeing in young people being able to gather, it is not like it was when we were growing up. And so I am not privy to any of the circumstances of the investigation that pertain to that, other than I think that's a community conversation happening right now. And all I can speak for is personally, obviously an ordinance goes to council members, and I certainly would support a curfew. I would have last month, last year. That hasn't changed my opinion as of this, but I think that's going to be a community conversation moving forward. And in my conversations with council members, I don't think there's anybody in the city government that would ever be or has been standing in the way of something like that taking place. But with this surge of ability for young people to be gathering, some wanting to be with their friends, some having bad intentions, I think that this is an opportunity for us to have that conversation moving forward. But primary focus right now is we're going to get the people responsible for this, bring them to justice, and we'll have those conversations moving forward.
I kind of had a follow-up question to that. I looked into Okaloosa, the sheriff's department. They have like a seasonal curfew for like when spring breakers come in. So I don't know if that's something that maybe you consider, if that would even help, and is it really going to deter kids from doing stuff like this?
Yeah, too early. Again, I think we're just primarily focused on this right now. Those are all things that we would analyze as we would with if I were to propose an ordinance, or if a council member or members were to propose an ordinance. That's the analysis our city attorney's office does. There is a state statute, on the books in general that gives a good template. Some counties have done it, added different nuances as you just described. We honestly, I've been here to support our police department the last 24, 36 hours, right? And so we haven't gotten into a lot of details on that. But certainly whatever would come forward, whether that was from a council member or from my office, we will think through every one of those scenarios and have something that ordinances are only important if you have the ability to enforce them. We don't want to give false promises to our community to say these are the rules of the city, yet we don't have an ability to enforce them. So both of the things you bring up will be considered certainly when that's getting drafted.
Another question for Chief. Chief, do you, of the 5 that have been released, is there any investigation going on now if they had involvement and were maybe injured?
Yeah, absolutely. So that first night, obviously, we wanted to talk to everyone involved as soon as we can. Being on the scene, I can tell you some of the individuals were willing to talk right there. Some of them were medically unable to do so. So this entire time, we've been reaching out to those individuals, making sure that we can reconnect with them with the eye first, obviously, to treat them as the actual victims that they are. They're struck by gunfire, but knowing with how it is with criminal investigations like this, sometimes it's a lot more complicated than it first appears. So having those ongoing conversations has been something that we've continued to do, and I think there's more interviews even on tap today.
Chief, have you brought any outside agencies in to help with the investigation?
Had a lot of offers. I do want to thank the sheriff's office. The sheriff's ATF, TFO task force officer has been very helpful to us. Sheriff Simmons reached out to me. Chief Frank from Milton reached out, said if there's anything we can do. Fortunately, with the capacity of the department, there's been a lot of sleeplessness, a lot of yawns in the office, but we've been able to hold our own and do a ton of work. But I am thankful for all the offers. I did mention the ATF stepped up to help. We had discussions today about reaching out to some of our federal partners just for some more forensic evidence processing, just to make it quicker, just because it is such a big crime scene. There are so many individuals involved, and haven't had pushback from anybody we've talked to. If anything, just an outpouring of support from the local law enforcement asking for help. So we're very, very thankful for the law enforcement community in this area and how much they've stepped up for us.
Chief, you mentioned there were like 20 fights. Does that seem like an abnormally large number or something typical for a gathering of this size? And of the fights you did see, does it seem like any of that was like gang related, or where the trends you saw were these just
most of the fights that we saw were young people who oftentimes knew each other from school. Some of them were prompted by altercations that happened that night, the night of the fireworks. Most of it, as I said the other night, was kid stuff. There was some serious incidents of young people throwing mortars. There was one that not only threw mortar but had a handgun tucked in his waistband. Those were the sort of things that we were really focused on, and we wanted to make sure that young people were not getting hurt. I know we. Not to get political about the curfew incident, but we talked about when that was brought up. One of the things that came to mind was that myself and the officers out there saw some very young people, 10 or 11, and the idea of a curfew isn't necessarily that you want to take this person off the street to punish them for being off the street. It's 10, 11-year-olds were in some situations that I think I would be uncomfortable having my 10, 11-year-old in, so having the ability to escort them home as a way to keep them safe is important. So fortunately, we didn't see any serious injuries from those 20 or so fights that we responded to. Part of that is because we had such a big police presence there, so we were able to quickly disperse and bring peace to those fights. But again, 9 arrests were made, so yeah.
With so many young people involved, could parents face consequences?
It sounds like a legal question. I think that would probably be a stretch as far as holding parents responsible. We interacted with, I mentioned this the other day, Captain Reese and I were just talking about some of the parents that we talked to that night who I was feeling very optimistic and encouraged, because a lot of parents, I think, looked at the clock and knew that their kids were downtown, and they actually drove downtown and were walking around the park and looking at the area and talking to police. Hey, I'm looking for my kid. I think this is, I've seen what's going on social media. I think this is an unsafe situation. I don't want my kids out there. If it's a city-imposed curfew or a parent-imposed curfew, I think just the overall mindset of knowing where your kids are and wanting to see them safe is an important thing, and that would certainly improve the safetiness for our community. But to quickly answer your question, I don't see that as a possibility at this time.